Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our JavaScript for Beginners series. In the last video, we learned how to use console.log to print things on the screen. Today, we're diving into something super important, variables. Think of variables like boxes that hold information: your name, age, favorite color, anything you want. So, what is variable? Imagine you have a locker. You put your books in it, right? That locker is a variable. In your books, that's the value. In JavaScript, variables let you store data and use it whenever you want. So for example, if I write let name equal sign John. So here, name is our locker, and inside it we kept John. Easy, right? So how do we know that John has actually been stored inside the variable name? To verify this, we'll use console.log and check whether John is really in the variable or it's just joking around. So let's type console.log and pass our variable name inside it. Let's run it, and here you can see we logged name, and the output we got is John. This means John is indeed inside the variable name, right? Also, hello world is being printed because we have two console.log statements in our code. If you want, you can comment one of them. Just go to the line and add 2 slashes in front, and it will become a comment. But wait, what even is a comment? So let's now look at what a comment actually is. A comment is basically a piece of text in your code that JavaScript will completely ignore. It's just for you or other developers to read, like a little note or reminder inside your code. Think of it like writing a sticky note for yourself. Hey, this part of the code does this, but it won't actually run. And if I show you by running it, now you'll see that it didn't even print hello world and didn't print this is let variable either, because both are comments and they are only for you. And by the way, the terminal looks a bit messy, right? So let's clean it up a little. To clean it, simply type clear in the terminal and hit enter. And here we go. We have a fresh terminal now. And I'll also show you a quick way to comment, because typing slash again and again takes time and effort. So for that, there's a shortcut. Just place your cursor on the line. You want to comment and press Control plus slash, and the line will be commented. And if you press Control plus slash again while on the same line, it'll be uncommented. And what if you want to comment multiple lines? For that, select the lines and then press Control plus slash. And there's another way to comment multiple lines. So where you want to start commenting, right /star, and where you want to stop commenting, right */. So now your multi-line comment is done. So yeah, comments are super helpful when your code gets big and complex. It's like leaving clues in your treasure map of code. All right, let's get back to variables. So there are 3 types of variables. One is let, the second is var, and the third is const. All 3 are assigned in the same way we assign them, like this. Let name equal sign John, var name equal sign John, and const name equal sign John. So then what's the difference between them? And which one should we actually use, right? This is where the confusion starts. So first, let's understand about var. What is var in JavaScript? Var is the old way to declare variables in JavaScript. It was used before ES6 came out in 2015. Though it still works today, it has some issues that can cause bugs in your code. How to use var? Var name equals sign John. Console.logname. And if we run the file. Yes, it works. But let's see why we don't recommend using it anymore. So the first problem is the variables declared with var can be redeclared. You can declare the same variable again with var, and JavaScript won't complain. For example, var name equals sign dough. And if I run the file again, you can see it's printing dough. So you might ask, what's the issue here? Well, the problem is we already created a variable name. So if we try to declare it again using the same name, it can accidentally overwrite your data and create bugs in your code. Also, with var, you can actually access the variable even before declaring it. For example, if I try to print name using console log name, before declaring it, it will still run, but without its value, it will show undefined. And that's the problem. This behavior can cause weird, confusing bugs. That's why var is outdated and not safe like let and const. Best practice in modern JavaScript. Use let if the value will change later. Use const if the value will stay the same forever. And yeah, I wasn't even going to teach you var because we just don't use it anymore. But I thought, let me at least tell you about it so you're aware. So yes, var is still supported in JavaScript, but it's considered bad practice in 2025. If you're learning JavaScript now, just stick with let and const. They're safer, more predictable, and your code will look clean and modern. So now let's dive deep into let and const. And all right, let's talk about let. In JavaScript, when you want to create a variable, something that can change later, you use let. Think of it like a water bottle. You can fill it, drink from it, and refill it again. That's exactly how let works. It lets you change the value anytime you want. For example, let's say you make a variable called letScore equals sign 0. Now, as your game progresses, you can update the score, like score equals sign 10, score equals sign 20, and so on. Or let's say you store your mood, let mood equals sign happy. But later, after a bad internet connection, you change it to mood equals sign angry. Totally allowed. So yeah, let is perfect for situations where the data can change while your program is running. Super useful, super flexible. So first, let's clear the terminal. You already know how to do it. Just type clear and hit enter. Now, guess what will happen if I run the file? If you've made a guess, very good. And if not, take a moment and look carefully. So look, when I ran the file, nothing got printed. Why? Because I only created variables and gave them values, but I never used console.log to print anything. So now let's add console.log score, console.log mood. And now when I run the file, you can see what it printed. Score is 20 and mood is angry because these are the latest values we assigned to them. But that doesn't mean the previous values didn't exist. They did. Let me show you. If I add a console.log right after each assignment like this, one here, another here. And the same for mood, one here, and one is already there. Now, when I run the file, you'll see. First, it printed 0 because that was the initial value of score. Then we changed it to 10, and it printed 10. And finally, we updated the same variable to 20, and it printed 20. Same for mood. First, it was happy. Then we changed it to angry. And that's what it printed in the end. Hope this made everything clear for you. So first, I'll clear the terminal, and I'll quickly remove the console logs as well, just to avoid any confusion and make things look a bit cleaner. Now, you might have noticed a few things. First of all, I wrote letScore equals sign 0 without quotes. Second, when I updated the score to 10, I didn't write let again, right? So why is that? Let me explain it properly. When you create a variable for the first time, you have to use let, const, or var. But when you're just updating the value of an existing variable, you don't use let. Again, you just write score equals sign 10. Also, if you want, you can put the value in quotes like this. Let score equals sign 0. It will still work perfectly fine. But why don't we usually do that? You'll find out the reason in one of the upcoming episodes. One more thing, even if you use single quotes like this when assigning a value to a variable, it will still work just fine. It totally depends on your preference. You can use either single or double quotes. So first, let me remove all this. All right, so now I write let x equals sign 5. And if I again write let x equals sign 5, you can see that when we were using var, we didn't get any error. But here we are already seeing an error. And if you go to the Problems tab in the terminal, it will also show you what the issue is. So it says cannot redeclare block scoped variable x, meaning we cannot redeclare. And this is a really good thing because when we make big projects, if we accidentally use the same variable name again and again, it can cause a lot of bugs. But when we use let, it tells us immediately. And one more thing is that with var, we could use the variable even before declaring it. But if I try to console.log before declaring it with let, you will see that although there is no error showing here, when we run the file, it will not work. And it will give us an error saying cannot access variable x before initialization. And it also shows us in which file and on which line the error is. So you should also know how to read and understand errors. That's why I'm explaining this to you. So simply, if we want to fix this error, we'll go to this file check line number 13 and move the console.log below the variable declaration. And now if we run it, it works very nice. And now let me show you one more interesting thing. If I remove the console.log from here and create another variable like this, let y equal sign x. So what I did here is I created another variable named y using let and assigned it the value of x. So now tell me if I do console log y, what will it print if you said 5? Then very nice. And for those who didn't understand, let me explain. So look, we set the value of x to 5, right? So what's inside x? Now it's 5. Think of x as a box. And then we created another box named y and put the x box inside it. But inside that box, it still contains 5, right? So we took 5. So these small concepts will really help you in the future. So make sure to understand them carefully. By the way, before moving to const, there's one more thing about let. We can assign the value later if we want to. For example, if I remove the value from here and just write let x and then later assign x equal sign 5, it will still work. All right, so now let's understand something very important, const. Up until now, we've talked about var and let, which are both used to declare variables. But there's one more keyword you need to know, and that is const. The word const stands for constant, which means once a value is assigned using const, it cannot be changed. So here, let me remove this, and now here we are creating a constant variable x and assigning the value 10. And if I console.log it, this works perfectly. But now, if I try to change the value of x, JavaScript will throw an error. This is because const does not allow reassignment like var and let. Also, when you are creating const variable, you have to give its value. For example, if I do like const y, error dega, you must give a value at the time of declaration. You cannot leave it empty like we can with let or var. So the best practice in modern JavaScript is always use const by default and only use let if you know the value will change later. So remember, const gives you safety. It protects your variables from being accidentally changed. And that's really helpful, especially when building bigger apps. All right, so now let's understand one last thing, and then we'll look at some examples. For example, if I remove this console.log and write console log my ages, and now I want to add a variable here. How should I do it? Can I just write x? But that will come as text, and I want the value of the variable here. So for that, we use dollar brackets, and inside that, we put the name of the variable like x. But if I now write my age as $lags inside double quotes and run the file, it will take the whole thing as it is and won't print the value. This is because whatever is inside double quotes is treated as a string or plain text. If we want to access a variable inside our code, we need to first write console.log and then use backticks. Inside those backticks, if I now write my age is $eggs and run the file, you can see it prints. My age is 10. Very cool. This works the same whether you're using let, var, or const. It doesn't matter. This is how you can access your variable. There's also another way, using the plus symbol. So for example, if I write my ages and then come out of the quotes and write plus x and run the file, it works. And if I want to add a space, I can just go back inside the quotes and add a space. Now, when we run the file, it shows up cleanly. All right, so now let's look at some examples based on everything we've learned so far. So the example is a coffee shop order. So first, we need to get the customer name. And since the customer can also change their name, we will use let customer name equal sign Alex. And yes, one more thing, you cannot use spaces in variable names. And you might be wondering why I wrote the N in capital. This is called camel case, and it is used a lot in coding. We won't go too deep into it, but it's used because it makes reading easier, simple as that. All right, after that, we need to ask for the drink, and the drink will say the same based on what the customer wants. So for that, we will use const. So const drink equal sign latte. And now how much sugar the customer wants. Since the customer might change the sugar amount, we will use let again. So let sugar equal sign 2. So now you must have understood how to use let and const. Now let's print everything together in the console. For that, we will use console.log with backticks. First, we write customer name, ordered a drink with sugar. And if I run the file, you can see it is printing nicely. Very cool. So yes, today's video ends here. Hope you understood everything still. If something is unclear, make sure to join my Discord server from the description, because I will also post today's video task there. So join and complete it so that you can keep progressing with me day by day.